Welcome back to War Thunder and welcome aboard the Japanese STB-1, one of the tanks that I have not driven in a while, and once I drove it I immediately got remembered. Why? Because this is one of the tanks that I'm very unlucky with, and to my eternal surprise I have to admit these days it's not the L7 gun that gives me problems. Now the STB-1 is, for all intents and purposes, a Leopard being modified for War Thunder. It has better armor, it has a stabilizer, it has the same gun, and all that you have to pay for is by sacrificing a little bit of reload. But that's not really the trade-off that I am concerned about, because I'm quite sure this tank once had 10 degrees of gun depression and now it has 6 degrees, and that really hurts. Yes, it has hydropneumatic suspension, and I just saw this RE251 at the last possible moment and denying him the capture point, and he drops a, well, artillery strike on me. And it's just one of those scenes that just shows how extremely unlucky I am in this tank. It's an artillery strike. I never get hit by artillery strikes except in my mouse, and then it bounces clean off. And so, of course, he hits me once, sets me on fire, extinguished the fire, and that was a ranging shot, and the actual barrage penetrates me on the cupola. Oh boy. So, and here we are on the map 38th Peril, and this map is a map that from time to time I really like to play on, but most of the time I think to myself, meh, this map again? You know, map rotation is still an issue despite my video how to fix it. It still is annoying as all hell. And there you can see the mobility on the Type 74. We will see later on a scene that just shows what's ultimately wrong with the tank. And there you can see the driver can't switch reliably into 6th gear downhill. You know, it's not like the engine doesn't have the torque or the horsepower to do so. No, it's the driver. And we have this on so many tanks that would rely on mobility. We have this problem on the Hellcat, on the Leopard series, RE251, many other nations' light tanks that could exceed 60 kilometers an hour, and it's just painful. And you know, at this point in time I could steadily glide into the riverbed embankment here, so it really didn't hurt. But here you can see 6 degrees of gun depression. It's not quite enough, and this is where we come to the hydropneumatic suspension. On maps such as Abandoned Factory, it's not a problem. Okay, it's you have the level ground and you can deal with the opposition, and your stabilizer makes up for it, more than makes up for it, and gives you a pretty big advantage. And there I have to ask, why does this tank have the same battle rating as the Leopard? Because it's as fast, it has better armor and a stabilizer, and in most situations it's just simply better. And it's not the big AAA food XP pinata that well, the Leopard feels like to drive. Then again, it doesn't have a lineup to fall on or to fall back like the Mouse or such tanks. And yeah, that's a big problem. Also, the aircraft backup is not the greatest either. I mean, you have R2Y2s with 1 bomb and 30mm. They can go into a fight roll after they drop the 1 bomb, but it's expensive. And this is a common theme for Japanese tanks and Japanese planes in particular. Now you can see I heard an engine, and I prepare myself to go around this corner. What I'm doing here is bypassing the actual fight that you would normally expect around the capture zones. I'm not really, you know, spawn pushing or spawn capturing. I want to ambush the snipers or the campers, and normally, you know, this ridgeline is infested with tanks that just snipe the entirety of the map. I get a good hit into the Leopard with the Heat FS round, and I take out his gun breach, and that means I can hunt him down. If there is no other tank, and then there is this Leopard, I use the artillery strike to go over the ridgeline, and I empty his turret. And then I want to finish off the Leopard. He can't do anything except mark me with the, well, machine gun. And surprise, surprise, against the Leopard, the ammo rack explosion works. Now, where did the Panther 2 go? He didn't actually go anywhere. So I switched to APDS. There is no real reason to do so. And I finish off the Panther 2. And now I reverse. And there you can see the tank has a respectable minus 20 kilometers an hour. So, back to the hydropneumatic suspension, and well, I'm quite sure that this tank once had 10 degrees of gun depression, if I'm not mistaken, and that was just awesome. And so the hydropneumatic suspension was kind of an addition that was not necessary for the tank's performance, because in general, 10 degrees of gun depression, you can make it work in the majority of situations. Now I decide to go back to the capture zone and capture it. So yeah, the hydropneumatic suspension, it's a bit tricky, you know. You can set it up, and I've set it up, I know how to use it, but it takes time, and to get in those fast shots is not the best thing. You would expect, well, if I just, you know, use the hydropneumatic suspension to get the most out of the gun depression, you know, I can drive around all battle like that. Well, first of all, you look stupid, like this T62. And again, I switch to APDS. No, just for the sake of it, and finish him off. And now begin to capture the point. In just a few seconds, those were 3 important kills. I was practically behind enemy lines. So, what is the drawback if you use the hydropneumatic suspension? First of all, I think the tank looks a little bit stupid. Sorry about this, but this is how it is. Then you neglect the angling effect of the upper frontal plate. Yes, it's just around about 80 millimeters, but then again, you know, the angling on it of 64 degrees helps quite a lot, and you should not underestimate it. But then there is also the lack of gun elevation. You just have 9 degrees of gun elevation. That is pretty bad. And so in many situations you can shoot at aircraft, you can not shoot at enemy tanks even, because then the gun elevation is further reduced, and you don't want to have this. You don't want to have a reduced gun elevation. The tank is just a little bit limited, and I don't think that the armor on maps like this actually benefits you that much. So that's just my personal opinion. And the, well, weapon reload is 8.3 seconds. 8.3 seconds is, well, debatable. It's again one of the strange cases, because this is an L7 gun, and the L7 gun has the most, well, variety, let's call it, of reload rates in the game. When we look at, for example, the Leopard 1, it has, what does it have actually? Let me just look it up. It has 7.1 seconds, so 1.2 seconds, but it goes further down the line. Because the M60s have a reload as high as the STB-1, if I'm not mistaken, together with the Type 74. That was a nice ambush shot. The MBT-1 actually should have aimed the rocket at me, and then he could have finished us both. But I got the kill on him, which is nice. Sadly, my M60 paid the price, and that's actually it with the battle. But then again, you know, back to the L7. The Leopard sits at 7.7 without a stabilizer, and then, you know, there are the British L7 guns that have 5 seconds and 6 seconds on the MBT and the Vickers MBT and the Centurion Mark 10 respectively, with stabilizers. The Leopard doesn't. So where is actually the point of driving the Leopard? Battle rating for battle rating, including the stock grind and the lack of mobility of what it should have, which is insignificant for the gameplay. So I'm not quite sure. And you know, I was just driving around here at the end of the battle, trying to find the last Soviet AAAs. The aircraft were flying around. I did not bother shooting at them. For some bizarre reason, the 50 cal on top is also very limited in how it can shoot upwards. So it's very unenjoyable. And that's actually the match. So let's have a quick look at the post-battle results. I know this was not the most exciting battle, but I just wanted to show you why I struggled with tanks like this. And this was one of the battles where I guess it was never shot. This was a battle where everything went just perfect. And well, we can see the results are not too shabby. 25,000 civil lines, and because I didn't use too many heat shells and switched for the killing shots to the APDS, most of it was profit. I also wasn't killed, so no repair costs, you know, compared to using complete lineups and such. Yeah, the STB-1, a tank that is really nice to look at, a tank that is nice to drive, but in combat it has its drawbacks and I have a lot of bad luck in it. So this is why you don't see me very often in such tanks. I just currently drive it for some respading purposes. That's it for me today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more. And we'll see each other on the battlefields of War Thunder.